Anime series and comics have always been consistent in the media, even when others struggled. They seem to have an appeal amongst all age groups and cultures. Be it the Dragon Ball series or Beyblade, they have always been a success. While some were child-friendly, there were a few which definitely were for a mature crowd. We are familiar with horror anime like Berserk, Black Butler, and Boogie Pop Phantom, whose bone-chilling thriller and gore might be disturbing for younger age groups. However, today we'll be talking about a manga series whose OVA was so offensive that it disturbed a large section of the mature audience as well. Hi everyone, and welcome to another marvelous video. Today we'll be talking about a character based on whom there was a manga and OVA of the same name, Violence Jack. Created by Go Nagai, the series was a follow-up to his other anime, Devilman. Even if the gore of Violence Jack manga was not enough, the OVA took up a notch further, showcasing unimaginable violence, rape, transphobia, necrophilia, and even cannibalism. It was one of the most controversial OVAs to ever exist. So hold your horses, as we'll be talking about the main protagonist of the series, Jack, aka Violence Jack. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Origin of Violence Jack. The origins of Violence Jack have been left open-ended for audiences as the character mysteriously appeared and vanished after completing his task. The story revolves around the Kanto region after it had been devastated by a massive earthquake, which is also dubbed as the Great Kanto Hellquake. The catastrophe led to horrific aftermath as Kanto got cut off from the rest of the world and its citizens were segregated into two sections, the strong and the weak. The land eventually became manifested by criminals and goons preying on the weak and innocent. They were the ones commanding the residents and torturing them. Now this is where the role of Jack comes into play. Although the series from the manga and the anime have no continuity, Jack, aka Violence Jack, appeared only to put an end to the criminals and save the weak from being tortured, killed, or even raped. However, as the name suggests, Jack's methods of combat were extremely violent, and he was unhinged by collateral damages or casualties. He appeared out of nowhere, and in some stories, his appearance and departure were marked by the presence of a golden eagle. Although Jack has been mentioned to be human, his attributes are quite non-human-like. He was described to be as tall as 2 to 3 meters, that is somewhere between 7 to 10 feet. He had muscles like that of a gorilla, the fangs of a wolf, and glowing primal eyes. Moreover, Jack had mostly been the focus of a strange phenomenon occurring in Kanto. The 3 OVAs were also individual stories with no continuity, for which Violence Jack can be summarized as random appearances and decimating villains ruthlessly. The first anime, titled Harem Bomber, showcased the great earthquake in Kanto. However, unlike the manga, the anime explained the catastrophe that would occur after a comet from space struck Kanto. The earthquake killed many and left cities in a pile of rubble. In this moment of crisis, a man named Slum King took control with the aid of his brute strength and ruled over Kanto with an iron fist. While carrying out his wreckage, he confronted Violent Jack, who slaughtered his men and then went for him. However, a tsunami interrupted their fight and separated the two. Slum King later assigned his strongest warrior, Harem Bomber, to find and kill Violent Jack. Meanwhile, a young girl named Mari had been kidnapped and sent to a sex camp. Her boyfriend Kenichi sought help from Violent Jack and managed to rescue her, but that was not it. Jack was confronted by Harem Bomber, and while fighting, Kenichi died after being hurled out of the helicopter, which Jack used to defeat and subdue Harem Bomber and kill him. This was the end of the first anime. Violent Jack was solely introduced as a savior, without highlighting any of his past. The second anime, titled Evil Town, was a new story with no link to its previous one. The story begins with a massive earthquake that led to a mall in Kanto sinking underground and being separated from the outside world. With a limited supply of food, the citizens trapped in it split into 3 sections, A, B, and C. Section A consisted of ordinary citizens and businesses, and was well regulated. Section B consists of goons and criminals, led by an enormous thug named Mad Saurus, and the transsexual Blue, his second in command, and Section C consists of peaceful fashion models. The story showcases the struggle for existence among the 3 sections, and ends with a brutal fight between Jack and Mad Saurus, which leads to the death of the latter. Thus, we once again see Jack appearing in a situation of crisis without any reason justifying his arrival. In the third issue, titled Hell's Wind, Jack was shown defending a peaceful town named Hopetown from a biker gang named Hell's Wind. The story begins with a young woman named Jun and her boyfriend Tetsuya being tortured by the gang. They brutally murdered Tetsuya and raped a terrified Jun. Jack Jack arrived at the rescue, and the gang members began shooting him. Gunshots had no effect on Jack, but they escaped with Jun. The story progressed in a similar fashion, which ended with Jack rescuing the citizens and destroying the gang. Although Jack's character, persona, and strength could be noted and understood, his origins were a mystery. All these left audiences with a lot of queries about the mystery behind Jack, and how he arrived in such critical situations and left without notice. There were hints regarding Jack being a Devilman from Go Nagai's previous series of the same name, but in a convention, Go Nagai denied such claims. However, the pointers had indeed encompassed some important observations. Firstly, the use of Miki Makimura and Ryo Asuka as Slum King's mute pet dogs was a strong reference to the Devilman series, as they were the two who were shown to be the worst sufferers in the Devilman series. Finally, it was revealed that Violence Jack was a reincarnation of Devilman, split into 3 different Jacks: Violence Jack, Child Jack, and Female Jack. When the 3 versions united, Devilman was formed. Slum King, who was the main antagonist of the series, was in fact Xenon from the Devilman series. Holding that into account, the Devilman from its series was in fact a shy boy named Akira Fudo, who was possessed by the demon hero named Amon. Akira was a teenager who was sent to live with his friend Miki Makimura after his parents went abroad for work. He also made a close friend from school named Ryo Asuka. One day, Ryo Asuka revealed to Akira that Earth was about to get invaded by demons who were awakened after remaining in hibernation for decades. He added that the only way to defeat the demons was to take control of the powers of the demons and fight them. Akira believed in Ryo, and together they performed a ritual known as a Black Sabbath to summon demons and merge with them. During the process, a demon warrior named Amon, revered by all for his incredible strength, possessed Akira. However, Akira, instead of being controlled by the demon, triumphed over Amon, bringing the demon to terms with him, thus becoming Devilman. Being Devilman, Akira fought various demons, but also realized that the humans of Tokyo were also becoming like him, owing to being possessed by a massive horde of demons led by demon Lord Xenon, the right hand of Satan. Later, Ryo Asuka was revealed to be Satan, who was sealed off by God for sympathizing with the demons. Ryo had to confront Xenon for making Akira Devilman and protecting him. When the humans learned about the demons living amongst them, it created chaos. They ended up targeting anyone they believed to be humans and decimated several ordinary men and women, Miki Makimura and her sibling being a few of them. All the events led to humans becoming extinct and the world's destruction. The new world shown in Violence Jack could be summarized to be a new one created by God when his angels descended on Earth at the end of the Devilman series. However, in the Shin Violence Jack series, Jack was shown to be an alternate form of Amon, while Akira was the amnesiac warlord known as the Skull King. Jack's powers and abilities. As mentioned earlier, Jack's abilities and powers are kind of supernatural. He is portrayed as a human in the series, but on many occasions, his skills and endurance were showcased way beyond any ordinary. In the anime, when he was shot multiple times by a horde of gangsters, the bullets had no effect on him, and he was shown to be standing tall, even after being mortally wounded. Moving on to his strength. It was enormous. During his fight against Harlem Bomber, Jack slammed a helicopter on Harlem Bomber. Jack's fighting style was brutal, and he showed no mercy to his foes, from stabbing knives through the skull to cutting the villains across their bodies. He could do it all. There was nothing that could make him flinch or nervous. He was stabbed with a knife through his eye, but even that had no effect on it. Along with such brutal strength and aggression, Jack carried a knife, which was his signature weapon. It was quite fortunate that Jack stood for the weak and not for the corrupted. Marvelous story arcs of Violence Jack. When it comes to Go Nagai's Violence Jack, the 3 independent OVAs are the most remembered ones. They were released in 1986, 1988, and 1990 in the United States, Italy, France, the United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand. However, in most countries, it faced problems with censorship boards, while the second OVA was banned in Australia. The first had already been referred to early in this video, so we'll be speaking of the next 2, Evil Town and Hell's Wind. Evil Town. The story begins with a massive earthquake in Kanto, Japan, which causes a mall filled with people to sink underground. The citizens trapped in it eventually split into 3 sections, A, B, and C. However, owing to the limited food supply, the struggle began for survival among the 3 groups. As mentioned before, the citizens of Section A were organized, while Section B was filled with criminals and goons. Section C consisted of fashion models. 2 kids, Kenichi and Kurata, were caught stealing a ham by a man named Kawamori from Section A. The man ruthlessly killed Kenichi, but Kurata made a run. Unfortunately, he arrived at Section B, where he was brutally killed by Mad Saurus and his sidekick Blue. The citizens of Section A discovered Jack while they were trying to dig their way up to the surface. Section A leaders invited Jack to be their protector, and soon the news of his existence spread amongst the rest of the sections. When Section A and C met, Alia Mu, the leader of Section C, stated that Jack would be serving them as their guardian as the women of Section C were the ones to be tortured the most. She stated that during the early days after the earthquake, the men of Section A went crazy and brutally assaulted the women of Section C and raped them, for which it would serve right for Jack to be their protector in case such incidents happen again. It was revealed that the worst offenders were hiding in Section A. Jack agreed to stay as the protector of Section C. Meanwhile, Section B also learned about Jack and launched a surprise attack on Section A. In the crisis, the leaders of Section A turned against one another, leading to the total destruction of the group. The remaining survivors joined Section C, and they tried to escape to the surface. Section B criminals finished off the section and began brutally assaulting the women. Jack defeated them, killed Blue, and severely wounded Madsaurus. As they left, Madsaurus could be mourning the loss of his beloved Blue. He then ate Blue's corpse and transformed into a devilish red creature. In this form, he faced Jack once again, which ended in his demise at the hands of Jack. Hell's Wind. The third OVA also revolves around the period after Kanto's earthquake. It was an independent story showcasing a peaceful town known as Hopetown, established after the catastrophe. However, peace was short-lived as a biker gang known as Hell's Wind began plundering Hopetown and its citizens. The story starts with a couple, Jun and Tetsuya, being victims of the ruthless goons. Tetsuya was chainsawed by the bikers before his girlfriend Jun, who was later raped by them. The scene then shifts to a school, sometime later, where a female teacher is teaching a bunch of students. Out of them, a boy, Saburo, slowly develops a likeness for her. As the teacher went to see his rents about trading for food, the biker gang arrived and began teasing her. One of them tried cutting through the teacher's clothes, and that was when Saburo dived in to save her with his homemade bow and arrow. Fortunately, an angered Jun arrived with bomb arrows and shot at the bikers, exploding them. The rest of the bikers began retreating, but Jun was desperate to follow them. However, she was caught by the ones staying behind and made to surrender. Before things could get ugly for Jun, Jack made his appearance. Jack stopped the bikers from escaping and destroyed their bikes. The bikers took several gunshots at him, but it had no effect. However, the gang managed to escape, kidnapping the teacher. Saburo returned to Hopetown with Jack, but Jun followed the group to their camp at the Yokota Air Base to rescue the teacher. Jun attacked the base, but her attempt was left futile as she was captured. As they began torturing her, cutting her arm with a big A55 knife, suddenly another knife sliced off the torturer's head, and it was Jack who had arrived. Jack began his ruthless attack. One of the gang members, named Gokumon, tried to use a rocket launcher, and Jack stopped it and slagged him down easily. He brought down an entire helicopter and threw it at them with one arm. One of the bikers, Dante, tried escaping, but Jack sliced off his legs with his knife, following which he stomped his head. The entire gang was taken down, and later, Dante could be seen sending Griffin to get help from the Slum King. Jack left with the survivors, while the anime ended with a glimpse of Slum King hearing the news. Marvelous verdict. So we have finally come to the end of our video, and we hope you've liked our content. Violence Jack was easily one of the most horrific animes ever created. The scenes in the OVA would churn the stomach of many. It was gruesome and extremely restricted to a mature group audience with a strong heart. The anime faced several censorship issues, especially the second and third ones, which contained enough bloodshed and 18+ elements in it. Evil Town was undoubtedly the most controversial of the three, especially the scenes involving the brutal rape and sexual assault inflicted by the men. You can go and watch the OVAs and take a dig at the series and the character of Jack. Despite all the backdrops, there were bold attempts to establish the depth of character. Thank you for watching the video till the end, and stay tuned for the next marvelous video.